joining us today. You're listening to Pet EDU, and I'm your host, Mary Obadier. This is Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. Hazel TARR was here last week talking to me about her pet sitting business, Hazel's Pet Care. We had a wonderful conversation about that, and I hope that you listen in to that. She also happens to be an animal communicator, and I'm going to be talking to her about that today. The art of being able to communicate with animals fascinates me, and I look forward to talking to her about it. Before we agreed to this interview, I asked her to communicate with Chase, who a lot of you know I named my business after my Black Lab mix, Chase. And we will talk about that later in the show. She was able to communicate with him, and he was able to flow thoughts into her mind. So we will talk about that a little bit. But first of all, let me welcome you to the show, Hazel, and have you share with us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, thank you so much. Chase wanted me to let you know he is so excited about the fact that you want to communicate with him.
Oh.
And he loves you dearly, and he is always there with you, supporting you 100% all the way.
Well, you make sure you tell that Chase how much I miss him. I think he knows.
He knows. He definitely knows. So.
Well, tell me, how did you, what brought you to this point in your life where you knew you could communicate with animals?
I've always had an affinity with animals. As I said last week, they've always been drawn to me, and I've always felt that there was just being able to be silent and in a very peaceful state is that I was able to understand what they wanted to communicate. And so it's been the last 3 or 4 years that I decided I needed to research this more and tap it and to remind myself, as far as how this process happens. And because I believe that there is at some point in time, maybe in another lifetime, that, I had done this before. So I had taken some classes locally, and then also as far as with Carol Gurney through the Gurney Institute of Animal Communication. And it was interesting as far as understanding that the way we communicate is telepathically. And so what I was feeling when I was younger was right on target. So, and we do that sometimes even with humans. You may have that experience where it's that gut instinct or something that, like, you just feel or you sense, you've thought of somebody, and all of a sudden the next thing you know, they're calling you. That's that same type of communication that's going on. And so I wanted to tap in, and it's an honor to be able to communicate with animals because they really want to communicate with us.
Well, tell me, what exactly is an animal communicator? How would you describe an animal communicator?
An animal communicator is one who is able to, animal communication is like its own language. It's just, as far as if you're studying a foreign language, animal communication is another form of language, and it's telepathically. It is as far as that thought transference, that sixth sense, that you can either get that communication as far as through images, through feelings, through physical sensations, and it just depends on each animal communicator as far as what is unique to them and the way that they are comfortable, or which there is a strong suit for us to be able to communicate. I find that I get a combination of all of those. It just depends on what the animal is sharing with me.
Well, do you communicate with all species of animals, meaning reptiles, dogs, cats, birds? I mean, can you communicate with all of these?
I have with dogs, cats. I've had as far as horses. Actually, dolphins is where I live. We have turtles that are in the pond that I've also communicated with. There have been birds. There's been squirrels. So, and even as far as yes, even as far as snakes, which actually are a positive energy, even though they can be kind of scary for some people. So
Well, tell me, what does a turtle want to communicate?
the same thing as far as your dog and cat, as far as how they're feeling, what their concerns might be that day, or what's going on. I know when I first moved where I'm living right now, there was there were a couple of them that I would communicate with me quite often. They'd let me know as far as how their morning was, how they were doing, you know, as far as the things that they had noticed that had been changed, as far as maybe in the pond or actually even the environment, as far as in the condominium complex. So it was quite interesting as far as picking up all that from them.
So you get this communication, you told me like a telepathic way. So how do
Correct.
you, yes, how do you pick up on what they want to tell you?
Well, I know a lot of people when they first start doing communication, they feel like, oh, I'm making this up in my mind, and it's and it may feel that way, but it's not. Kind of like when I was communicating with you. What I've told you is that when I started, sometimes I would censor as far as what I was picking up. It's like, no, that can't be right, as far as I must be making that up or whatever else, and so I would hold back, and then the client would tell me, oh, this is what, and it's like, I was right on target. So it's as far as you can be out walking as far as in nature, and if you are tapped in and you silence yourself and you've opened your heart and your mind, you can communicate as far as with them, even as far as just asking an animal how they're doing that day, or what do they want to share.
Now you mentioned to me that there's different areas of animal communication, um, such as lost animals, animals
Mm-hmm.
as our mirrors. Can you explain that to us? What the different, what do you call them? The different areas? What does that mean?
Well, lost animals are exactly what you're describing. I've had several different people who've contacted me who have either their pet has disappeared, ran away, or whatever else. Some of them, what then they're trying to find out, what happened to them. Obviously, are they still alive? Are they still in? Have they transitioned? Um, or are they okay? Or they just needed to move on? Then there's as far as when you mentioned when I told you as far as animals as our mirrors. When I did a workshop, as far as at one of the with several different horses, and there were several of us in the class, and we would go to each horse and we would talk, write down what was going on with them, and then we all gathered around as a group and we discussed. And it was interesting that each person who, as far as at each horse, we all had different scenarios that they were telling us. And what we were finding out is what they were doing is they were mirroring as far as what may have been going on in our bodies, each person's individual bodies physiologically. Like for myself, I picked up on a one horse that had been having it felt like pain, and as far as the hip area, but it was just short lived. And then I picked it up, and then it was gone. And then I realized, oh no, what they were showing me was that I had forgotten that when I was on my way up there, I was dealing with hip pain. So, or they'll mirror as far as a certain type of behavior or mannerism. They may seem anxious, or they may seem, as far as a particular obsessive, and they can't settle down. But then talking as far as with the human, finding out, okay, this is what's been going on with the human. They need to see. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to fix the animal, not realizing what the animal's wanting them to see is that this is what you're doing. You need to try to calm down. You need to. I had one that they had just moved from out of state, and so she was just scattered all over. And her animal was trying to get her to slow down, to realize that, it's all going to be okay. Just take a deep breath, and you need to just um, relax and take it one step at a time. Then as far as there's also the death and dying. I have had people who've contacted me and wanted to know, is the pet wanting them to let them know that yes, it's time for them to transition? Do they need help? What do they want done as far as with the body afterwards? You know, do they want people there as far as when that transitioning is going to occur, and or if it's time for them? So that's what I've also helped with. And then even as far as with rescues, a lot of them, they want to know as far as what was the prior life that this pet had, what types of problems, or what type of environment did they come from, and or abuse, how to get past that. So those are the different areas with animal communication.
So if somebody wanted to hire you to communicate with their animal, you would not have to be there in person. You could do it by a picture, or um, what are the ways that you can help people when you can't be there in person?
It is by a picture, and I need as far as a picture of the animal, and obviously as far as their eyes to be able to see them. And I can either do as far as over the phone. I can do as far as where they'll just send me the picture and the list of the questions, and I'll communicate and then type up the report and send it back to them, kind of like what I did for you. And then we got together and discussed afterwards. Um, and a lot of times when I am writing up as far as the communication, the animal will still then communicate with me other things they want the human to know. So I also can do as far as if they're local, I'll go and meet with the animal and the owner as well. So
And do animals really want to communicate with humans?
yes, they do. They really try to communicate with us, but recently I just saw something where it talked about as far as for us humans on a daily basis, we're processing about 40,000 thoughts a day. So when an animal is trying to communicate with us, it's almost like what they're doing is they're dialing in and they get a busy signal, they can't get through. So animals really do want to share. It's the fact that we need to be able to slow down and take the time to um, clear our minds and open our hearts and be able to um, let that flow of communication go back and forth. And I do realize it is kind of hard as far as we are quite a busy as far as